Have you ever been scrolling Instagram or reading a founder story and thought, oh, she's so lucky? I'm Alicia Mafadia, and I want to welcome you to She Got Lucky, where luck is just the beginning. After building 3 global brands, creating next level wealth through my social media, and being announced as Instagram's first Reels Pro, I know that there's a lot more than luck to getting started, and that with the right strategy, mindset, and drive, almost anyone can create a business that feels too good to be true or too fun to be considered work. In this podcast, we explore the stories of women who've made their mark, not just by chance, but through trust, resilience, and a belief in their capabilities. We'll dive into the actual strategies, stories, and secrets of success. So, if you're ready to chase your dreams, and instead of wondering how she did it, make it happen for yourself, tune in and let's redefine what it means to be lucky in the world of business. To every female entrepreneur I speak to, they seem to have a "you just got lucky" story. You were lucky. Where somebody around them, sometimes someone quite close to them, breaks down their success to luck. And it's so incredibly heartbreaking when that happens. But I want to turn that into empowerment. I want to talk about these moments, share these stories, and then go into the luck and actually find out what it took. So whilst I'll be asking our guests that come on the podcast this, I want to start off by sharing you my very own She Got Lucky story. And still to this day, it was a fairly heartbreaking moment. It was actually one of my very first mentors, and I thought so incredibly highly of them. And I still think highly of them. But there was one day I remember so distinctly. We were sitting there and they said, "Oh, well, you just got lucky that Reels came out. And you just got lucky that Reels are so easy. And you're teaching on this and everyone wants to know, you're just lucky." And this was after just the beginning of my initial mass growth with Reels. And I had so much incredible things going for me. And I had worked so hard to get there. Just a few months before this, I literally was not able to get out of bed. I was working from bed. Work was the only thing that I found the energy to do. I was so depressed and in such a horribly dark place. And I worked so hard to not only get myself out of that place, but into a point where I really was thriving. I was showing up. I was sharing what I loved. I was helping people around the world doing what I loved. And in that moment, where I had someone who meant so much to me break that down to luck. And it wasn't just a statement, I could really feel it. It really broke a part of me. And I think it was a part of me that broke and I fixed it up and now I'm stronger for it. But it really was when there's someone you trust so much or there's someone you look up to and they make this really strong statement where your success is just luck. It's not because you're talented. It's not because of your work. It's not because of who you are. It's luck. That's why this podcast is here. I want to share these stories. I want you to open up. I want you to share your She Got Lucky story. And I want us to redefine what luck means. Because it is sure as hell not just being in the right place at the right time, crossing our fingers, wishing on a shooting star. It's none of that. It's because we are freaking incredible and we have so much power that has still not been unleashed with the world. And when we start to allow the world to see who we are, that is where we start to shine. That is where we find our magic. And that is where so many people will say, "You just got lucky." So whether you have just found the podcast, whether you've been a long-time follower, thank you very much, whether you've been a student of mine, I want to go all the way back. I want to go so far back to where this started, and I want to take you through the key steps, the key moments that led to right now, where I am sharing the She Got Lucky podcast and everything I am with you today. So where it all began. I remember being such a freaking quirky, fun child. I literally believed I could do absolutely anything. And I think right from the very beginning, if I really look back, me becoming an entrepreneur, me starting my own businesses was absolutely inevitable. I remember back in, year 2, creating little shops and things like that, and, at school, and all sorts of ideas. I remember craving that responsibility of having a job, of working. It was never, at the age of 8, when I did start working, it was not about the money. I started working at 8 in a family business, and I remember saying, I don't want to be paid. I just want to work. And my dad at the time was like, well, you're not going to work and we're not going to pay you. So they actually put money into a share account for me, which was really, really brilliant and definitely built me up to where I am today. So instantly, I didn't want to be paid, but money was already accumulating and building to where I am today. So I started working at 8, and I would work every second Sunday. I remember being there, little 8-year-old me, and I would be in a pharmacy. And I would be the front of shop. So I would get the medicine and then I would ring it up and get the money and etc. And I remember saying to this older woman, how would you like to pay? Cash or credit? And she said, credit. Do you know how this works? Do you know how to use this? And I said, yep, check, savings or credit. It was this constant battle of trying to prove that I knew what I was doing and not to judge me because of my age and not being constantly underestimated. And I feel like I still have this today. So that's a little interesting thing that I've just found there. But I wasn't working because I wanted money. In fact, when I was 15, I had 4 jobs. And this is a really big thing that I'm so proud of. And it's a part of me I have today. It's a part of me that I believe is one of the reasons why I am who I am and I am where I am, is because I love to work. I don't think that's a bad thing. I find it quite sad that we're in this world where we've gone so the opposite and it's anti-hustle and, all this. And what about the people who are working that actually love to work? It doesn't come from a place of, I need to do this to get to where I want. It's a place of, I love this journey. I love what I'm creating. I love who I'm helping and I love doing it. It's not unhealthy. I loved working then and I love working now. So at 15, I had 4 jobs. I was working at the beach selling ice cream. I was working in a restaurant as a waitress. I was working in the pharmacy, and I was also working in a surf fashion shop. So I had the 4 jobs, and it wasn't about the money. It was all about overflow. It was all about the responsibility. It was all about those real life experiences. I always had a cash register. I always loved playing shops and things like this when I was younger. And literally, it really does. If I reflect back, it is the person then who I am today. And I think that's a really, really big part, is like, there's definitely this point in my journey where I lost sight of that. I lost touch with that inner child version of me who craved who I am today. Like the person I am today, that's just a reflection of her, just, a lot wiser and stronger and, all sorts of things. But that's a really key part. So like many growing up, I had no idea what I wanted to do. It's not like from working all those jobs, I was like, yep, I'm going to run my own business one day. Despite that I had my dad who had his own businesses, I didn't sort of grow up thinking, yep, I'm going to have my own businesses too. I felt so lost, and especially moving into that year 9 period when I was 16 and I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I feel like in school, that's definitely a time and it's a place where we have this pressure to decide. We have this pressure to figure it out and we feel like we need to figure it out now. And so at this point, I had no idea what I wanted to do, but it was only when I watched The Holiday. Love The Holiday, love Cameron Diaz. And in The Holiday, Cameron Diaz owns her own business and she creates movie trailers. Now, as somebody who grew up always with a camera, digital camera at birthday parties, making videos of birthday parties. In school, I was always making little video edits and any opportunity I could. Even when I was 6 or 7 and it was school holidays, I was sitting there on my dad's computer and I was making transitions on PowerPoint. So I've always loved this creative side of bringing a vision, bringing an idea to life. And so when I saw Cameron Diaz in The Holiday doing this and, quote her, "That's why I get paid the big bucks." Like, this all sounded so awesome and exciting. And it was then that I started to look into the world of film. I found my degree up on the Gold Coast, film and television, and I dived into what did I need to get there? What did I need to do to become the person that I can go to that university and study that? So going back to that first day of uni, and it was a really small intake. Film and television had about 9 people in my intake, maybe 11. And so we went around and my lecturer asked me, "What do you want to be? Why are you studying film? What's the goal?" And one after another, the students in my class would say, "A producer, a director. I want to be a cinematographer. I want to be a director. I want to be a producer. I want to be a movie editor, blah, 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 blah." And they had these big goals, big intentions. And then it came to me. And straight away, I felt back into that 8-year-old version of me, feeling incredibly underestimated. And I said, "You know the movie The Holiday, and I went into this. And I said, "Well, I want to be like Cameron Diaz and I want to edit, Anyway, straight away in that moment, there was such a contrast between the other students in my class versus me. And I feel like I always felt ashamed of that. I always felt ashamed of being the odd one out, the one that was different with what they wanted to do or how they wanted to get there. And now looking back, I'm so freaking proud to be that person, because that is all building the person I am today, the person that stands out, the person that builds a business that is different from the rest. So whilst I studied film and television, after creating a short film, to graduate, you needed to be a part of a short film. And of course, I wanted to write my own, direct my own. So I wrote up a story, got it approved, then put all the pitch together, got the movie greenlit, but I needed to come up with the money. It was going to be about $10,000 to produce this just under 10-minute short film. And I remember I was strategically thinking, how can I make this money? How can I fund this film? And I was coming up with Alicia Eats, where I would be pretty much staying sober when everyone was going out and partying. I would be ready there with my car to do McDonald's runs for students coming back from drinking, and they wanted McDonald's. And so I would charge my fee and I would go and get their McDonald's and everything. So I was doing Alicia Eats. I literally remember I created a graphic for it. I created a poster and things like that, marketed that. I was doing all sorts of things. I was going out and pitching for funding and everything like this. This is all a part of it. And what that whole process taught me was, one, I definitely had a knack of finding money trees and coming up with ideas that generated money, but it also really taught me that I did not want to be in the film industry, because it was long. It took about 14 months to create this short film, and it literally drained every part of me for so long. And I was like, gosh, I do not want to do this. If this is a short film, I do not want to be going into the film industry. So I fell into the world of TV. And I definitely think that that experience built the love I have today for social media content, for short, bite-sized content. Get in, create what you need, get out. When people say to me, it takes so long to film a reel, I'm like, heck no, it doesn't. It is not hard. I know hard. A short film is hard. Funding a short film, doing all the planning, doing all the creating, that is hard. Creating a reel is so freaking easy, and it is free. So this contrast, it all builds to where I am and everything I am today. So I fell into the world with TV, got me a job back in Melbourne in TV graphics. So I was working in sport, and that is really where this story really took off, because I thought it'd be great. I thought it would be really brilliant. And this world that I just stepped into, I had no idea how unequipped I was for it in a sense. I grew up with two brothers. I had lots of male friends. Like there was times when I just loved hanging out with the guys. So never in my wildest dreams did I think that I would be struggling in this environment. But I really did. I just felt like it was a male-dominated world. I didn't see anyone around me that I was like, that's what I'm going for, that's what I'm aiming for, that's what I'm going to push through it. I remember having friends saying, well, it takes one female to make a change. You need to be the one. I'm like, why do I need to be the one? There's nowhere here that I am aiming for. There's nowhere here that lights me up thinking that could be me one day. And instead, I was just literally draining myself. And I wanted to be going all in. I wanted to be working all the hours. I wanted to be working hard. But I felt like I was so irrelevant and my job was just in a joke in a way. I felt impactless. And I just remember at one point, I think it was my 22nd birthday. Maybe my 23rd birthday, I wrote a letter to myself on my birthday. And I vowed to myself that by the time I was writing another letter to myself, by the time the next birthday came around, I would not be in the position I was in at that time. I would not be in a job doing the things that make me feel so invisible that I could disappear tomorrow and I wouldn't really have made a difference in the world. Surely with my family, with my friends, they'd be sad. But the movement, the things that I created, that really scared me. That really freaked me out. And I bought my first apartment at a very young age because of this whole mindset and mentality I had around money, around wealth and building it. And so despite the fact that I already had a pretty significant mortgage, I was leaving a safe income because this fear of being irrelevant, this fear of having little impact in this world, and that purpose that was just growing, it so outweighed the fear of not being able to meet my mortgage repayments and things like that. It beat the fear of what the heck am I going to do? Can I really do this? All right, one step in, one foot in, have a backup plan. That purpose, everything built to that moment was so much more than everything else I was afraid of. And that's what led me to leave my 9-to-5 and start my own business. Just as the world was coming into COVID, I was making less than $1,000 per month of clients, and I decided to leave my job. And then literally 2 months later, we were going into full-on lockdown and everyone was pulling back on marketing budgets, and I lost absolutely everything and hit my lowest point. So how did I go from working in TV to social media? It's a pretty big leap. I didn't really study social media. How did I go from that? Well, during the 9-to-5, during the work week, when I did feel so impactless and, I wasn't able to express my creativity. I wasn't able to have fun. I wasn't able to, do what lit me up and do the things that I was passionate about. I started to create more content. I started to get back into my camera, video things, film things, edit things. I was going to cafes. I loved brunch. I still love brunch. It's my favorite part of the day. And I would be filming and taking photos of the food, of the angles and everything like that. And I didn't even realize that people got free lunch and free things from cafes for doing this. And so I had my Instagram page. It was called The Fit Hit at the time. I started it back in 2014 because I was like, I'm going to make healthy smoothies and I'm going to share the recipes. And I let other people in my world think I was being silly and making a fool of myself. So I stopped it. But I'd already built a little bit of a following there. So I just picked up that page again and started with healthy breakfasts and sharing that. So I was getting free breakfast. Free breakfast for like 2 people was like $80. They would say, yep, come on in if you share, a reel or a post or whatever. I think it was just posts and stuff like that back then before reels. And, if you share stories and tag us, we'll give you a free meal. So I would go all in. Like, this is something about me is that I don't do things in halves. So I would go all in. I'd take videos, I'd take photos. I want to over deliver. I want to really just absolutely smash it. Okay, also the perfectionist version of me. But I would find myself shooting videos and then editing them for 8 hours in Premiere Pro. That is 2 years of my studies in film school, learning how to do things, learning the techniques, learning the psychology behind it, and then using this really expensive program, my really expensive camera, to do all the things and create this. And even at one point, I remember that one brand literally gave me the free food and then they used it for paid ads and everything like that. Like, I had no idea. Anyway, I knew I was doing such a good job with this, but I wasn't getting paid. I wasn't valued for my time. And it was a bit hurtful at one point. So I realized, heck, these people that are being paid to do the socials for these cafes, for these businesses, are getting me to do things and they're relying on me. Why don't I just become that person? And then I sort of started thinking, do I need to go back to uni? No. Why would I go back to uni to study something and then come out at the same point that everyone else is at? Real experience is what I need. Even if I give my time away for free to learn and get that real life experience, that's what I need to do. And that's what I did. I was literally, working my 9 to 5, and then after hours, I was doing social media for the cafe downstairs for my work. I was, handling other businesses' social media. People that I knew around me who had businesses, I was like, cool, can I do this for you? I'll come up with this, blah, 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 blah. I needed to build that experience and build that understanding myself rather than learn social media, from a university degree or whatever. I needed real life experience. So I went out and I did that. And through that, I even got the opportunity to go to New York with a brand. They paid for my flights, my food and everything. And then my time and everything I created whilst there, that was just me giving my time for experience. And I picked up my first paying client while I was over there in America. And so it was really through building up my confidence through that real life experience, through the actual doing, that I started and took that leap for my own business. And I started with social media management. That's what the Social Impact was here to do. And at one point, I remember I had 11 different brands. I was doing their social media and I felt like I had 11 different bosses. I was freaking out at one point. This was the moment that I realized something needed to change. I was about to take a week off because I was about to have eye surgery and I was freaking out. One of my clients was so unhappy, because I was going to be off and because blah, 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 it fell on them and blah, blah, blah. And I realized, what the heck have I created? I feel uncomfortable to take time off on public holidays. I feel uncomfortable to go get eye surgery for my health. What have I created? And that's when I pivoted the business to coaching. I've always loved teaching. Even as a child, I would literally get a set of drawers and whiteboard markers and I would use the side of the drawers as my whiteboard, and start teaching as if I had a crowd in front of me. I've always loved the teaching, the presenting and helping others. And so I focused in on that. And it's just been refined consistently with every change, with every fall, with every mistake, with every bit of success. I've pivoted, I've changed, I've learnt from it, and it's built to who I am today. And I love. The reason why I go back so far with this story is because connecting with that inner child, connecting with that younger version of you has so much power. We tell ourselves we're not creative enough, we're not this, we're not that. At some point in your life, you were. When you were a child, you'd have imaginary friends. You'd come up with all these creative games and ideas. But as we go through life, we start to think that we have to be a certain way, do things a certain way. We learn from our institutions and the environments we're in to dull that down, to do this instead, to, follow procedures and be this. And so no wonder there is an issue in our world today with innovation, with creativity. So whether you feel this about yourself or not, creativity, everyone gets to be creative. Everyone can be creative. We get to connect back with that younger version of us, bring that into our business today. There's so many ways to do that. And this is just one of the ways when you can connect into that creativity, that inner version of yourself, that inner child version of yourself. That is where you make insane amounts of wealth. That is where you get to have the most fun in your business. That's where you get to let go and see what happens. And this is why I'm here as your host, as the creator of the She Got Lucky podcast. And I'm so freaking excited to dive into this brand new journey with you. So whether this is your first episode, whether you're going back and binging, whether you've followed me for a while or you're brand new, Thank you so much. I can't wait to delve into this, to go into this, to bring you for the journey. Okay? There's going to be opportunities where I want you to come on the podcast, where I invite you, where you can send me a voice message and it's involved in the podcast. This is going to be fun. We're delving into luck and what it is, what it isn't. And we're unpacking all these stories and moments that just don't get the screen time on Instagram or TikTok or social media. But instead, we're going to delve into it. We're going to give it the space. We're going to go into it and we're going to build epic businesses that make movements in this world together. All right. If you enjoyed the podcast, this is one of our first episodes and it means so much if you can go and review the podcast. All right. Please, please, please leave us a review, share it with a friend, and let us know that She Got Lucky is here and we're about to tear shit up. All right. I'll chat to you soon. Bye.